2 hours, so it's not worth it.
I'm very sorry.
In my culture, death is not the end. It's more of a stepping off point. You reach out with both hands and Bast and Sekhmet. They lead you into the green veldt where you can run forever.
That sounds very peaceful.
My father thought so. I am not my father.
T'Challa, task force will decide who brings in Barnes.
Don't bother Miss Romanoff. I'll kill him myself.
Excelsior True Believers, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to try and keep it quiet because it's like 2:30 AM. I did sort of have this video ready to go, but there are a couple of things that I need to sort of change and add, and it's just easier to do this. So I hope you can hear me properly. I hope I've adjusted the volume and stuff post filming enough that you can actually hear this fine. But today we are looking at Moon Knight. So I'm just gonna dive straight in. It is going to be a quick video, hopefully. So who's in it? So far the only casting we've gotten is Oscar Isaac as Mark Spector Moon Knight. There are two other characters that I know of. It's like a best friend confidant and a love interest that haven't been cast though. No villain as of yet, as far as I'm aware. And yeah, considering that this is getting closer to the end of phase 4, it kind of makes a bit of sense that there's not a whole heap of information. All the information's out about the ones coming sooner. So what's this show going to be about? Well, it's going to be about Mark Spector, who is an ex-mercenary whom the ancient Egyptian god Khonshu revives after death, allowing him to become the superhero Moon Knight. This does, however, mean that he suffers from dissociative identity disorder, what with having the consciousness of a god in his head. And so his other non-costumed personalities include the rich playboy Stephen Grant and the taxi driver Jake Lockley, which he uses outside of his Moon Knight persona to help him investigate and catch his villains. The Egyptian writer-director Mohammed Diab will direct this series, and being that this series is going to heavily have a backdrop of ancient Egyptian iconography and Egyptology, it obviously makes a lot of sense that Marvel would have someone of Egyptian descent themselves direct this show. Moon Knight's often compared to Batman, in case anyone didn't know, and so Oscar Isaac seems like the ideal A-lister to portray a superhero multi-millionaire living in Chicago. I think also with his facial features and the fact that he was Apocalypse, who is also an Egyptian character from Marvel, kind of makes a bit of sense. His facial features do sort of... I'm not actually sure of Oscar Isaac's actual lineage or his heritage, but his facial features definitely sort of seem like they would come from that part of the world. The series will likely focus on the psychological angle of the character, considering that they are leaning right into the fact that he has dissociative identity disorder, which really means that this series is sort of Marvel's first one to really focus on in any depth. Marvel Studios' first look at mental health, like seriously look into mental health, which is great. It means that yes, this is another white male superhero, but we're looking at mental health, and that's how this is going to fit in as far as Marvel's representation goes, and it's great. Cool. There was one site that I looked at that said that given recent character developments in Avengers number 37, which came out this year, that it seems to foreshadow something that may happen in the MCU. They didn't give spoilers, so I looked it up, and I can kind of tell you that it's more or less going to be that Khonshu will try to basically fully take over Mark Spector's body and try to fully come into the world as a corporeal being rather than just as a consciousness, and that the Avengers are going to try and stop him, and that it really comes down to whose side is Mark Spector on. Is he on the Avengers and therefore the humans side, or is he on the gods side, the ones that brought him back from death? Kind of a tough one, especially when you're suffering from dissociative identity disorder. Parts of you might agree with one side, parts of you with another, and you've really got to sort of come to a unanimous decision within yourself. And that would be an excellent storyline to follow. Just saying. So this will come out in 2022 in all likelihood. No actual release date yet. Although if we're looking at the order in which things are coming out, we are starting to look here at being closer to the end of that year. I think the only other series to come out after this is She-Hulk, so that means that this would be putting this towards the end of... Actually no, this might actually come out in September of 2021. If I'm doing my maths correctly. No, sorry, January of 2022 is what this might end up being. We've already discussed 6 different shows before this one. Time is slipping away from me. So probably January of 2022, and it'll be on Disney Plus. And how this will tie into the MCU, this is where I have to add things from what I had originally had and was originally going to upload. I didn't know how this was going to tie in at all, and then I remembered the clip that I put at the beginning of this, and obviously went and got that clip so it could be at the beginning of this video. Now, obviously Chadwick Boseman's in that clip. Rest in peace, rest in power, will always be T'Challa. But I picked that particular clip because he mentions Bust and Sekhmet. Now, in the comics, they are both part of the Heliopolitans, which is basically just the name that's given to the Egyptian pantheon. And so, therefore, the Heliopolitans also includes Khonshu, who will be appearing in this. So there's 3 main ones that I can see this tying into. Blade, quite easily. We're talking about Moon Knight. I'm pretty sure all of his, his costumes, white and silver. Silver's kind of important, because what does a silver bullet kill? vampires and werewolves. Werewolf by Night might show up in this, although he might be too obscure a character. But definitely silver bullets and fitting into killing vampires. 100%. He's also sort of possessed by a god, so holy water could potentially come with that as well. Just saying. But yeah, so it could tie into Blade and therefore a potential future Midnight Suns film or TV show where they all sort of come together. It really depends on what Blade is. It really depends on if they're actually going to be bringing Moon Knight himself to the films, and what they end up doing with the character after this series. It may also tie into Black Panther, obviously through the Heliopolitans and the fact that two of them are worshipped in Wakanda, and therefore potentially all of them are worshipped in Wakanda. On that particular note, I have got here, Bast is actually the god of pleasure, poetry and dance, and Sekhmet is the god of war, which makes them really interesting, like a really interesting duo to be the one leading you into this peaceful afterlife of the Greenveld Jalia, which is what it's called in the comics, is Jalia, the ancestral plane. And the other one that it could tie into is Thor, Love and Thunder. My theory there being that before finding the Asgardians, who he obviously ultimately blames for whatever happened to his planet or whatever, not, stopping Thanos in time, not protecting the Nine Realms the way they should have been, potentially, whatever it might be. Before finding them, Gore has gone around trying to kill off other pantheons, and obviously one of those would be the Heliopolitans, which would therefore be the motivation for Khonshu to find his champion in Moon Knight, in Mark Spector. That theory does also leave the door wide open for Ares and or Hercules to make an appearance. If Hercules gets introduced through one of these, that'd be really cool. Then give him his own film where Ares is his villain. Could be really cool. The Marvel version of Ares, obviously. And then you could then have Ares sort of become an anti-hero in his own right, which would also be really cool. But yeah, that's how I think that will sort of work in. If we look at Gore the God Butcher, take All Black the Necrosword, which itself is created by the Clintar symbiote god Null, and then he has it, so he's using that to decapitate Eternals. I mean, Eternals could fit into this as well. They are going to be looking at ancient Egypt. This has ancient Egypt background. Eternals could fit in as well. That's 4. But yeah, could tie in any number of ways. We may even see Khonshu get mentioned in Eternals before this to help set up who Khonshu is, so we're not just sort of thrown in the deep end with it all. And then yeah, they may go with the fact that now is the time to bring him in because Gore the God Butcher is out there killing off Asgardians and other pantheons. Could be really cool. But anyway, that's all I've got for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and the notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload a new video. And until next time, guys, keep your head screwed on.